Somewhere in the ancient world, there is a single block of stone so vast that it strains belief. It weighs, by careful estimate, close to 1,000 tons, as much as a fully loaded jumbo jet, or a couple of hundred elephants stacked into one solid piece of rock. And it was not just carved. It was carved by people with no engines, no hydraulics, no steel cranes, people we like to imagine as primitive. And here's the line you've probably heard, that we couldn't even move it today. That the mightiest cranes on Earth would struggle to lift what these ancient hands somehow cut, hauled, and set into a wall. So which is it? Were these people impossibly advanced? Did they have some lost technology, or, as a certain kind of documentary loves to whisper, some help from the stars? Or is the real answer something else entirely, something we overlook precisely because it doesn't flatter our sense of being the clever ones? Because the truth about how ancient people moved these giants is not magic. It's not aliens. It's something, I'd argue, far more impressive, and we're going to walk through exactly how they did it, what genuinely remains a mystery, and why we're so desperate to believe they couldn't. First, let's respect the problem, because it is real. We're not talking about the average building block. At the most famous of these sites, foundation stones weigh several hundred tons each, 3 of them set side by side in a wall high off the ground, each roughly the weight of 300 cars. And in the quarry nearby lies an even bigger one, still attached to the bedrock, that tips the scale toward 1,000 tons. To just call that heavy is to miss it. A modern shipping truck carries maybe 40 tons. This is one stone weighing more than 20 of those trucks combined. So the instinct to say we couldn't move that today is understandable, but it's also not quite true. We could. The largest land cranes in the world can lift well over 1,000 tons, and we routinely move objects heavier than these stones. What's genuinely staggering isn't that it's beyond us now. It's that it was done then, without a single one of the machines we'd consider essential. And that reframes the real question. It was never what impossible force lifted this. It was always the far more interesting one. What did they know that let ordinary human muscle do something that looks, at first glance, superhuman? And here is where the disappointment sets in for the mystery hunters, and the wonder sets in for everyone else. Because the core answer is embarrassingly well understood, and it comes down to a handful of simple machines and one thing we badly undervalue: organized human labor at scale. Start with the ramp. A slope lets you trade distance for effort, drag a stone up a gentle incline, and you can raise something enormous with a fraction of the force it would take to lift it straight up. Add the lever. A long enough beam and a fixed pivot let a few people exert many times their own strength. The ancient world understood leverage intimately. Then the sledge, a wooden sled that the stone rides on, dragged not over bare ground but over prepared tracks. And here's the detail that turns impossible into hard but doable. There is an ancient Egyptian painting that shows a colossal statue being dragged on a sledge, and one worker at the front is pouring water onto the sand in its path. For a long time people thought that was ceremonial. It isn't. Modern experiments confirmed it. Wetting the sand to just the right dampness dramatically cuts the friction, so the sledge glides where dry sand would pile and drag. That one trick, water on sand, can roughly halve the number of people needed to pull. And now scale it up. Where one person straining alone gets nowhere, put a few hundred on well-laid tracks with damp sand and long ropes. Coordinate every pull to a single drumbeat so all that muscle fires at the same instant, and the arithmetic transforms. A load that is impossible for 10 becomes merely heavy for 500. The secret ingredient was never a machine. It was a crowd moving as one body. These builders weren't waiting for a spaceship. They were doing physics. And they had more than ramps and sledges. They had an entire toolkit of clever, low-technology methods that feel almost like cheating once you see them. Take counterweights, using the weight of one thing, or the pull of falling water, or a descending mass, to raise another. Take the humble roller and the wooden rocker, cradles that let a massive block be tipped and inched forward a little at a time. And here's my favorite, because for decades it was itself a mystery. On a remote island, enormous multi-ton statues sit miles from the quarry that produced them, and local tradition insisted the statues walked there. Everyone assumed that was a myth. Then researchers took a faithful replica, tied ropes to the top, and had small teams rock it side to side while walking it forward, and the thing strode across open ground upright, exactly as the legend said, walking on its own base. A story dismissed as primitive superstition turned out to be an accurate engineering description that we had simply failed to decode. That's the pattern, again and again. What looks like an unsolvable riddle is often a technique hiding in plain sight, in a painting, in a legend, in the shape of the tools left behind. Now, let me be honest, because honesty is the whole point, and pretending everything is solved would be its own kind of lie. There are real open questions here. That 1,000-ton block I mentioned, the very largest one, is the giveaway that even the ancient builders had limits. It was never moved at all. It still lies in the quarry, cut but abandoned, as if they, too, reached a point where it was simply too much. That tells us something important. These were people pushing the edge of what was possible, not people for whom nothing was hard. At some sites, the precision of the fit between giant stones, joints so tight you can't slip a blade between them, is still the subject of active study. We understand it, but the sheer labor and skill involved remain breathtaking. And for a few specific transports, the exact route and method are genuinely debated among serious archaeologists. But notice what kind of mystery this is. It's not "this is physically impossible." It's "we're not certain which of several known, workable methods they used." That is a completely different, and much smaller, gap than the one the mystery sellers want you to imagine. The unknown here is a matter of detail, not a hole you can drive a flying saucer through. So if the answer is basically ramps, levers, water, ropes, and a staggering amount of coordinated human effort, why do so many of us instinctively reach for a more exotic explanation? And I think this is the real buried treasure of the whole subject, because it's not about the stones at all. It's about a quiet insult we pay to the past. When we look at an ancient achievement and our first thought is they couldn't possibly have done this themselves, we are revealing an assumption that the people of the past were simpler, dimmer, less capable than us. So when the evidence of their brilliance is literally set in stone, some part of us would rather credit aliens than admit that human beings, thousands of years ago, with nothing but simple machines and ferocious organization, were every bit as clever as we are. The lost technology was never anti-gravity. It was project management. It was tens of thousands of people, fed and organized and motivated across years, applying physics they understood perfectly well. And that, a civilization capable of that kind of coordinated genius, is a far more astonishing thing to be descended from than any visitor from space. So the next time someone shows you a colossal ancient stone and says no one could move that without alien help, you'll know the honest answer is both humbler and grander. Humbler, because it's just leverage, friction, ramps, and rope. Grander, because it means our ancestors did it, with their minds and their backs and their extraordinary ability to work together. The stones aren't proof that someone else visited. They're proof of what we are capable of, and always have been. So here's my question for you. Which is really harder to believe? That beings from another world lifted these stones for us, or that ordinary humans, whom we've spent centuries underestimating, were clever enough to do it themselves? Tell me what you think in the comments. I read every single one.